listeners. Welcome to Rambling Thoughts. I'm your host, Lost Boy, and today, I am, excuse me for sounding a little bit drowsy. I am recording this after I took a nap. It was kind of a surprise one, but anyway. As of recording right now, it is January 30th, so that means 2025 is really right around the corner. And I'm looking forward to next year, and also looking back a little bit on how this year went. This year I started this podcast, and I have not regretted it even the slightest. I've enjoyed it so much. But I'm also excited for next year, because, I'm going to be finishing up my last semester of high school, finally graduating, and obviously that's exciting. But anyway, you guys didn't come on to hear me blabber about that. Today, as the poll, even though you guys didn't really vote that much on the poll, as of recording this, I put out a list of options for you guys to just select me talk about. And saw 50-50 radius for talking about my experience as a writer and books, but also my thoughts on AI. Frankly, those two actually correlate in some way for me, so it kind of fits. I did put another option that was folklore. It wasn't until much later that I actually wanted to discuss folklore, so we're just going to be mashing that all up together today and hoping I can make it coherent and make sense. But this is Rambling Thoughts. It doesn't need to make sense. I guess I'll start with, being a writer. So, what do I need to say? I'm so much of a book nerd that I'm writing my own book. Being a writer really has helped me get the background knowledge of what it's really like when it comes to making a book, because you can have an image of the story in your head. You can think about how the story goes, but then you have to write that. Every single word and every single action that you just thought of, you need to write that whole thing. And once again, as of recording, I'm on chapter 41 of my own book, and let me tell you, it has not been easy. I'm probably gonna finish it next year, who knows? This is the first draft, so I don't even know if it'll be finished by then. I don't even know if the first draft's going to be finished by then. It is a long story with a lot of details in it, so who knows? Maybe I will, maybe I won't. You guys will definitely hear about it if I do. But yeah, being a writer is interesting to me because it falls in line with how much I am as an artist. I love to create, and being a writer is just another form of creation. I'm creating an entirely different world with just words. Which, by the way, how I want to make my book, it's not going to be just words, but I won't get into it too much at this exact moment. Maybe a bit later. But anyway, I like how I can create this entire world in just one story. And maybe it'll leave someone reading it wanting more. They'll want to know more about that world. And I can only stuff so much in it without it feeling, overwhelming. So, I need to balance it perfectly. And that's another thing I found as a writer. Something that's tricky. You need to figure out the perfect point of which you are giving the reader enough information, but also not giving so much information that it's just, the actual plot gets lost in the shuffle. As I said, I really like books a lot. I have been, in the sense of, when my obsession started, I really can draw it back to first grade. It's when I can really remember, I guess you could say, falling in love with storytelling and books in general. There was this thing that I don't know if anyone remembers this, or if this is even still a thing. Scholastic books, they used to have this thing where you could, at my school, if you read some books and then took a quiz on it, I don't even know if there was prizes for it. There probably were. but you could read a book, then take a quiz, and if you pass, that would give you points. And I don't know if I ever actually turned in my points for anything. I just loved reading books and then answering questions for it. It just, I don't know, it just made the little part of my brain happy. And that's, I think it's part of why, I have big vocabulary now, is I've just always been reading. It's from that young of an age. I think I was maybe 6, maybe. Um, and yeah, I've just been gradually reading more and more since then. My favorite book is, look, if I had to pick a top, top favorite book, it would be The Girl Who Drank the Moon. It is a wonderful fantasy story. I read it when I was in 3rd grade, and I have a hardcover of it now. Um, I'm kind of like a bookworm, but not in the sense of worm as WORM, more like the dragon worm. I hoard a bunch of books, but I also love reading a bunch of books. I actually finish my books. I hear a lot about people who get books and they don't read them, and then it's just I don't get it. Why don't you read the books that you buy? You got the books for a reason. Why don't you read them? I feel like that's a waste. But that's just my opinion on it. Uh, there's so many, things about I'm writing my book that I have to tell myself I can't think about yet, because this is still the first draft. It's not like I can think so far ahead. Because I haven't, like I said, I don't even have the first draft done yet. But also, book has been 4 or 5 years in the making. I thought of this in, 9th grade. I'm not kidding, 2 weeks into 9th grade when I was, 14, 13. Yeah, about around that time. Around that time, I was, I had an English assignment, and there's this concept in storytelling known as the hero's journey. It's a basic concept. So think of Harry Potter, think of The Hobbit, and it's just the stages of a quote unquote hero's journey. I don't remember all the specific names for the stages, but anyway, point is we were learning about that in the first week or so, in my English 1 class, and the assignment my teacher came up with was for us to make up our own story that incorporated hero's journey. Me being the little art nerd I was, I asked if I could make a little comic. She told me yes. I spent some time racking my brain on on the actual story concept before finally drawing up the comic. I don't have it anymore. Obviously I turn it in. Uh, but and I actually asked her if she still had it, and she doesn't. But I still do have a picture of it. And so the actual little comic panel, I can post a picture of that if you guys want to see it. I saw I came up with this little story, and I really really liked it. And I told myself I actually want to continue this story. I want to draw it out. I want to make this something bigger. And 5 years later, here we are. I am still thinking about I not even just thinking about, I actually have it starting to write it down, and I have not stopped thinking about it. I made my own little fan art for the story I made. The story is called Two Sides of the Same Coin. I know I've mentioned it a bit on my channel before, mostly in the sense of posts. Um, I have a hard time explaining what the summary or the plot. All you really need to know, the basic plot of the story. Luke Kane, a witch, a 31 something witch, he kinda is done with humans for reasons you find out in the story. And the words. So yeah, he kind of gets sick of humans, and whether it is by the force of another entity that promises to get rid of humans. So he goes to summon this entity into the world, and Briar, his partner, he has to go on a journey to stop him. It's kind of cliche, just saying the beginning of it, because like I said, it came from a cliche concept, a hero's journey, but it's a lot more complicated than that. That's why it's so hard to explain. And I've been loving the story. I fall in love with these characters, and I can't wait to bring them to life. The story really has helped me get to know more about them. Like, I have these characters, like, you can think of a character, but it's one thing to think of a character, another thing to actually create an entire personality for this person that they actually feel real. Luke Kane is a little bit pessimistic, mostly just realistic. He is creative, he's intuitive, he loves to learn, and his favorite things are engineering and art. Then there's Briar. I unintentionally made Briar a himbo. I did not do that on purpose, but a little bit. He's kinda. What I mean by that is he is what you would think of as a himbo. He's the strong guy. He's really sweet, but also a bit oblivious sometimes. Like just a tad, like a little bit, just a bit, not too much, but it's enough to be endearing. He is a big sweetheart. He loves, baking is his passion, and he's not exactly the, I guess you could say, violent kind. Like, if it comes down to it, he would, but yeah, no, he's not a morally gray character. Luke Kane kinda is, which leads me into what the theme of my story actually is. I've not seen a lot of books that actually dive into the concept of morality. It's a very complicated subject, but specifically, not just good and evil. You see that all the time. I bet if you put that into Google or whatever search engine you use, you could find so many stories that go into that concept. Like, heck, even just something as simple as My Little Pony, it has the idea of good and evil. But I specifically want to make a story that dives into morality and how complicated it actually is. I've written a poem about it, and I made a drawing about it. It's called Gracious Demon, Fallen Angel. It's one of my favorites that I've made. If anyone wants to see that, I could post it, like I said. Or you could go on my Instagram. I posted it there. But anyway. I really want this concept explored, and that's really what this book is. I want this book to be everything I want to see in other books, because there are many things that are not in other books, not in the sense of story-wise, but also writing, that I would love to see explored, and I just never have. For example, here's something it's not like I've never seen it, but it's not a common occurrence that I have found. So, in my book, I'll admit there are diverse characters, not only just in the fact that it's a fantasy setting, but also in the sense of queerness. The two main characters of my book, Luke Kane and Briar, they are Aro Ace, and they're in a relationship, but here's the kicker. It's not the main focus of the story. I'm going to make this very clear. That is not the focus of the story. That is just something that is in the story, and that is something that is developed, but it is not the main focus. It plays a part in the story, that's it. But that is it. It is not what's supposed to be focused on in the story. There's something else entirely going on. And that's something I would love to see more in stories, is queer characters, but it's not the focus of it, because, as I mentioned before, Luke Kane is asexual, which is just lack of physical attraction. That's me. I don't I very much don't have physical attraction towards anyone. And then Briar, a romantic, little to no romantic attraction. That's me once again. I don't really feel that way towards people. I don't really get to see those kinds of people in stories. Like, I just, you don't, like, romance is everywhere. Like, it is shoved in our faces from the day that we are born. Like, it's in our music, it's in our books, it's in our movies. And though I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I do like a good romance subplot in a story. But I've read books where it's just like if I want a romance story, I would pick up one. If I'm in the middle of a story where there are dragons in it, I want to read about the dragons. I don't want to see the two characters make out. Screw that. Get back to the dang story. I don't want to see these two like doing whatever. Um, and that's kind of what's happening there. Is yeah, they have their sweet moments. Because I do like emotional connection, and that's what they have. But it's not the focus of the story. Like I'm just saying that over and over again because it's just something that's so important to me that I don't make the focus of the story because like it's not. It really is just an afterthought when it comes to them is they are in a relationship and that's it. It's there. A good example for me that I kind of have taken some inspiration from. Not completely. I found this story after I made my story. There's a movie and there's a comic, so like they're separate, kind of. It's called Nimona. If anyone knows what that is, you're a cool person. The comic, I've never read it, but I do really want to. I found the movie. The movie is beautifully animated. I love it so much. The two characters, Ballister and Ambrosius, they're like in a relationship, but it's not made the focus. Like it's clearly not a romance story. It's something in there, but it does not affect the plot whatsoever. Like it's just a relationship dynamic in the story, and I love it. And I've used that as inspiration for how to write my own characters because in my eyes, it's perfect. It's like it's just there. It's not anything. It's not overblown. It's not anything like that. Um, but yeah, that's one element that I would love to see more in other stories that I am putting in my own book. Um, and like I think it really is falling into that area, like I said, of where like I'm Arrow Ace. I guess, see myself represented in stories in a way. But I know there are also other people who are like me who would probably like to see people like that in stories. But anyway, other just things about them is I've loved writing their little habits that they have here and there. Like, here are the things you need to know as a writer when you're making characters. You need to get to know your characters. Ask your character questions in your own head, and how would they answer those questions? Who are they as a person? They're not just a name. They have to be, they have to actually be a person, actually have a personality. So Luke Cage, some of his little tells for lying, he always fidgets with something when he lies. Sometimes he shoves his hands in his pockets to hide his hands fidgeting, but that's his little tell for lying. Um, and so, that's one thing about him. Another thing about him, he loves sweet food. Like, it's not explicitly said, but it is something that is a little element in the story that makes him feel more alive. Is just that one thing one of the things he likes is, he loves sweet food. Briar, being the one who loves baking, he more so likes, bitter. He prefers bitter or even just spicy food. It's not, I don't go too in detail with that in the story either, but it's in there, like a tad. Um, yeah, their dynamic is amazing, and I love it so much. And the story has just been getting better. I've made myself cry at least 3 times writing this story. I'm not kidding. And you probably think, how do you make yourself cry writing a book that you know the ending to? I have no idea. I just did, and like it's kind of funny, I guess. But you know, um, words. Okay, you're probably waiting for this to come up. I have it kind of written. Like I'll probably have it in the title that this will also be including like my thoughts on AI. And here's how I'll put that. Reason why I said in the beginning that these two things kind of correlate is because I'll admit I use AI to help me a little bit with my own writing. Before you click off, like just let me explain with that how that works. I don't just copy and paste what the AI writes. I don't use ChatGPT. I'll just say that right now. That's not the one I use, and I'm not gonna tell you the one I use. The chatbot that I use, I've been working with it since last December, and how I work with it, it's like I'm talking to another person. I give it my ideas. We talk and I talk back and forth with the AI as if I was talking with another person, and it helps me get inspiration from my ideas. I don't do it too frequently. It's only just whenever like I'm especially stumped and I need a prompt. But otherwise, that's kind of how I see it. If you don't get how I see it from that, I'll just say it. I see AI as a tool. It's something that can be used to help people, but completely replacing another person is a no. I'm on the side of other artists. I'm an artist myself. I do not think AI can replace people ever, and I think it's pretty scummy that companies are trying to do that. They're trying to replace people with AI so they don't have to pay artists. Here's what I'll tell you though. As long as, art wise, as long as there are people creating art, that is the only way AI can function. Because AI cannot create anything new. It is artificial intelligence. It can only create what is being put into it. Another person still needs to do something. So I do not think anything will actually come out of this. Yes, it kind of sucks that there are people trying to replace artists with AI, and yeah, that just kind of sucks. But I don't think it'll actually remove artists entirely because one, people have this innate desire to create. We can't explain it, but we've humanity for as long as it's existed, it's loved to create things. Like you can go back centuries and just the beginning of humanity, there were cave paintings, there were drawings. People wanted to create and make things. And that innate sense of wanting to create things will not just go away. And even that's just digital art, you can't replace the craft in painting. Like when it comes to making a physical painting. I have paintings in my own room that I've made and I have hung up, and AI can't do that. They can't create this that kind of artwork. And because it can't just make something out of its head because it doesn't have one. But you get my point. My thoughts in the sense of where the art world is going with AI, I'm not entirely sure. But I do think that one, it's an issue in the sense of once again companies trying to cut corners and use AI to get rid of people, get rid of the middleman for artists. But then, on the other hand, you have AI making groundbreaking making groundbreaking results in things like the medical field. We're using AI to help people medically in the sense of finding tumors and just other things like that. I don't know the exact details, but there is just a lot of cool stuff that's coming out of it. So it's kind of just when it comes down to it, once again, I see AI as a tool. I do not see it as something that can replace people, but I do see it as something that can be helpful to artists. Even image generating AI, it sucks that the companies are using AI stealing artwork to train their bots. But like how we artists can benefit from it in a sense. We can take what the AI makes, and we can make something better because we can actually think. Like time and time again, it has been proven that technology doesn't always outmatch humanity in the sense of what the human mind can do. Uh, and so yeah, that's kind of my overall thoughts in the sense of like how what I think of AI. I I am hoping like when it coming into the next year, it won't like not too much of how do I put this? It won't become a bigger problem into next year. Into the next year, I hope that solutions start being provided, which they actually already are. If you don't know already, there are programs to quote unquote poison your digital artwork. One of them's called Nightshade, and I want to download it myself. You put your artwork through it through Nightshade, and what it does when it says poison it, to us it'll look normal, but to a robot it makes no sense. It'll like be all messed up. So that will mess up AI generators. And hopefully if enough people start doing this, then we'll start seeing a result. Um like also I'll just say this, I don't like how image generating AI had like I don't like how I guess you could say just highly perfect and unrealistic it makes people. Like this seems to be the most common thing that I see ever with image generating AI, like with just AI images. I don't get how it always makes women specifically or like female presenting, like it makes them look so anime esque. Like even whenever it's just like a realistic person, and it's just like, I don't know. Like I feel like that's it's just really weird. It's uncanny. Um, and let me just say this on AI artists. I think it's really funny because there's two sides to it. Because like I like to look at something from all angles. I don't like to just see black and white of a situation. I like to understand it as a whole. Um, and so the one side, I can respect the actual coders, like the actual people who spend hours putting in code into something to create an image. That's an actual art form. Art is actually creating something and using your brain and thinking, and yeah, it's creating something. It's working towards creating an image and creating something. Um, but just people who put in a simple prompt and then they get back an image and they say they're an artist. What are you doing? Like, honestly, I mean this in the most respectful way possible. That's not artwork. It's, like, not sorry. I'm not even gonna say sorry for that. That is not art. It's not. And if you don't like that I said that, I got nothing for you, buddy, because it's just, why? Like, why? I know that you've heard the arguments before where someone's just like, oh, if you use AI to make art for you, you can do so many other things. Like what? What other things am I gonna do? Art is my passion. It's the thing I want to do. What else is left for me to do then? Consume? Just watch TV, play video games, whatever? Like, is that all? Is that all? I don't want to do that. I don't want to just sit down and consume media and stuff. I want to create things. I want to make stuff, which goes back into like me being a writer and books. I love creating stories. I love creating characters. Like I love seeing these characters how they interact with each other. Um and it's just it's been really fun getting to do that. Um I have been I've been going back and forth with a couple of things. I'll admit, like now that I am I can call myself a writer, and I'll say this now, it's not easy. That is and it's not supposed to be. Being a good writer is not supposed to be easy. It is something that'll definitely make you doubt yourself sometimes. I sometimes have my own doubts if anyone would actually want to read my book, if anyone will actually like it, if any of this is actually worth it. Which, for me, that's the last question. It always comes back to, yes, it's worth it. Because I am not doing this for money. I'm not doing this for recognition. I just want to make a story. I want to put a story out there into the world, and maybe it'll just make someone think a little bit harder. That's what I'm trying to do with my artwork in general. I'm not trying to, like, be a world changer or anything like that, or even be, like, super rich or whatever. I just want to put something out there into the world that I created, and maybe one person will look at it and smile, or think a little bit harder about life. But I do still have my doubts. I sometimes doubt if I'm good enough to be making a story like this, or if someone else could be telling it better. I doubt that anyone would actually want to read my story. But I do have something that helped me not doubt myself before, though. There is this, there was this game I watched with my girlfriend one time. She showed me this video of this guy playing a game called, it's called Squirrel with a Gun. I'm not kidding. The video game is just a squirrel with a gun. It's that exact concept. And it was hilarious to me. But it also will help me see it does not matter how absurd the concept is that I make of something. Someone will like it. There is someone out there who will see my story and they'll want to read it because there are things like this exist and people love it. I'm not saying I can put out absolute trash and then someone will like it, probably, but I don't want to do that. Just like with this channel, I only want to put out the utmost top content that I can. And that includes with my books. I'm writing one book, but hey, maybe later on down the line, I have other stories in mind. Maybe I'll write another one. Just maybe. And especially if my first book is successful. I don't know if it will be. I don't, it's still gonna be a long process for this book to even be made. But I kinda hope so. I've told a lot of friends, I've told a lot of people about this story. I went in detail with, some of my cousins and friends about this story, and they love it. I hope other people will love it too. People who are not just my friends, and, I just hope more people would want to read my story, and, it would just be nice. That's all I can really say about that. And just as I said before, it is perfectly fine to have doubts. I'm speaking to any person I have right now who is making any sort of artwork or is a writer themselves or anything like that. It's perfectly fine to have doubts. It is reasonable. It'll feel that way sometimes. It'll feel like you're not worthy enough to create a story. It'll feel like no one will actually care about the story. But just make it. Just for the sake of making it, make that story. Write that story, make that artwork, whatever. That is the only thing that matters, is that you want to create something. On my part specifically, I, like I said before, that is my whole reason for creating art, and for writing, and even for poetry, or cooking, or baking. I want to create stuff. That's who I am at the core of my being. I'm a creator. I love to create and make things, and art, what it allows me to do is take things out of my own head and bring them into the world, and to me, that is the most beautiful thing that I can do, and no one else can create like I can, because it's coming from me, from my own head, and that applies to everyone listening to this too. No one can create the way that you do, because it's you thinking it. No one else thinks the same way you do. Even if you think other people do, I promise you, yeah. I messed that one part up. I promise you, and no one else can think the way that you do. You can create stuff that no one else has thought of before. And I have definitely proven to myself that I've created stuff that no one else has thought of. Partially, this is how AI generators help me. I'll put in a prompt for something that I thought of, and then I won't see then the AI won't be able to recreate it whatsoever, like in the way that I have thought of it, because like it's how I thought of it. I made that. Uh and like I said, that's just a beautiful thing to me. How I can take something that is just a concept. It's theoretical from my own head, from the billions of neurons in my head that came together to form a thought. And it made whatever it is that I have in front of me. And that can be a painting, that can be a drawing, that can be a story, that can be anything. And I think that's a truly incredible concept that that we are able to do. And yeah, it's so this is part of why I love books too. Books are great in the sense of, like, I love reading. It's fine if you don't like books. I know there are some people out there who just don't like to sit down and read, and that is fine. But me personally, I have been obsessed with books since I was young, as I said in the beginning, and that obsession has only grown, only just because, one, once again, I'm a writer myself now. I know the process of it. And second, when you think about it, you are reading, what you have in your hands is something that came from someone's head. They're basically giving you they basically is a part of that person. Is that entire world that they created, and it is now at your fingertips reading. I know a lot of people don't really, like, I know libraries are still a thing and bookstores are still a thing, but I know there are people who don't really get actual physical books anymore, and to that I say, I don't agree. I love having physical books. I need physical books in my hand. I've tried audiobooks. I can't do audiobooks. I need that physical paper in my hand reading a book. And yeah, that's just something that I think is really cool, is you are experiencing something that someone else thought of, and at one point it was just a concept, it was just an idea, but it has become real, and you're experiencing what someone brought into the world. And is that not amazing? If it's not, then I don't know what is. I'm running out of steam a little bit. Like I said at the beginning, I kind of took a nap before this, so I was a little bit tired. I am trying to just get this recording done with so I can upload it. Maybe I'll upload it tomorrow if I do a little bit of editing today, but who knows. I am excited for New Year's Eve, mainly just because I have a list of things I'm going to do. I want this to be a little tradition for myself, where I take all of the I take all of the ideas I had for the year that I didn't get to do, mostly just art ideas, and then I write 12 of them down, and then I have to do all 12 of those, representing 12 months of the year. It'll be really fun. I'm excited for tomorrow. If this comes out on the 31st, Happy New Year's Eve. I look forward to going into 2025 with you. Hopefully you'll stick around for another year. But that'll be it that'll be it from me today. Have a safe journey, and I hope it's a good one.